Hello, everyone, and welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative Highlighting Engineering and Technology College Fair, or CACHET for short. We are excited to have you participating in this event. We have some fantastic schools here to speak with you today. My name is Daisha. I will be your facilitator this evening. Before we get started, I have just a few housekeeping items that you can see on your screen now. Your camera and your microphone are off, so the panelists will not be able to see or hear you, but you can communicate with them using the Q&A function. So if you click that Q&A button on the bottom of your screen, you will be able to type your questions to our presenters at any time, and they'll be able to respond to you directly. This is one of many different sessions happening tonight, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website. And you can visit strivescan.com/CACHET to view the recording of this event as well as any others for you to watch on demand. And now I would like to turn it over to Amy Glenn, who will begin our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aisha. Let me share my screen here. So we are all set to go. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. So welcome to Unpacking STEM. We're going to take a look this evening about the different, each of the different areas that make up STEM, just to kind of give you a glimpse, so to speak, when you're thinking about what majors you might be interested in. My name's Amy Glenn. I'm the Associate Director of the Office of Future Engineers. I do hold both my bachelor's and master's degrees from Purdue University. In between the two degrees, though, I left campus and quickly realized I missed being here. I missed working with faculty and staff, but what I missed the most was working with students, so I came back to do what I do today. And I'll talk more about Purdue engineering later. Let me go ahead and introduce the rest of our group here. Jackie, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Amy. My name is Jackie Williams. I am the Dean of Undergraduate Admission at Stevens Institute of Technology, located in Hoboken. I'm very excited to be here to tell you all about STEM, what that might mean and what that might mean for you, and then talk a little bit about Stevens later. Thanks for joining.
Awesome, thank you. Alex, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Hall. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I've been an admission person for about 2 years, but been with the university for about 5 in all sorts of different aspects as a teacher, as a student. So happy to answer any questions about either that process just generally or Carnegie Mellon specifically. But thanks for joining today.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. And Mike, you are mystery man tonight. Would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you. Hey, I apologize. We had some type of glitch with my camera right before this started, but I hope you can hear me fine. My name is Mike Perry. I'm the Executive Director of Admissions at Florida Institute of Technology, located in sunny Melbourne, Florida. And I am been working in enrollment management for about 30 years now. I have my undergraduate degree from Florida Tech in aeronautics, and I have a master's degree in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Looking forward to talking to you about STEM. We're excited that you've joined us tonight, and we'll get going with the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So we're going to, like we said, we're going to unpack STEM tonight. Let's look at this acronym in more detail. Of course, science, engineering, technology, and math. Whether you realize or not, STEM plays a part in everything we touch, wear, eat, see, and hear in our daily lives. If you think about how you woke up this morning, the fact that you're on this virtual world with us this evening, and engineers and STEM plays a part in all of that. So we're going to unpack that more this evening, but I want you to think about how this impacts your life every day when you're brushing your teeth, when you're drinking coffee, whatever that is. STEM is most certainly a part of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie. Jackie, you want to take it from here?
Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about each branch and sort of what it means. So as you can see, science here, the real focus here is exploration and answers the question, what is this? So that's sort of the first step in a lot of what we talk about when we talk about STEM. It's an exploratory purpose and answers, again, a few different questions. The engineering part of STEM really focuses on the solution. How can we create with this? What is the problem and what is the solution to the problem that we're trying to fix? So again, engineering is that question related to how can we create? What can we do to solve a certain problem? Math focuses a little bit more on the understanding. Is this something that we need? What is sort of this product? What is the math behind the equation, and understanding more of the science and engineering behind the equation of the STEM fields? And then finally, technology, the implementation, and how do we apply this? How do we apply what we're doing to everyday life, to what we're learning? What is the actual application in the problem that we're trying to solve and in the solution of the problem? So to sort of break this down a little bit further, we want to talk to you all about ice cream and how STEM fits into something every day like ice cream. So first and foremost is the science that we mentioned, identifying the elements of the ingredients. What makes up ice cream? Engineering, creating the recipes, consistent batches using the ingredients. How are we going to create what the need is in the market? Math, analyzing the varieties. How much? Who's buying this? What are favorites? Taking maybe some data science, some statistics. Really analyzing what people want and who is going to buy our product, in this case, ice cream. And then finally, the technology aspect of it, the production. What are the new flavor combinations that we need to make? How do we make them? And then also, how do we distribute them? Who is going to sell these so that we can make the profits and that we can please our customers? Ultimately, a lot of what we do here is customer based. And so we want to make sure that we are producing everything in the right amounts, the right distributors ultimately for our consumers and our customers. And then even to get a little bit more technical, we want to talk a little bit about a car. And a lot of people, when they think of a car and they think of engineering, they really think of mechanical engineering. I want to be a mechanical engineering so I can work on a car or so I can build cars. Nowadays, as you probably know, cars are made up of and need a lot of different types of people, types of engineers, types of scientists, types of technological advancements in order to function. One of the specific ones is computer science, identifying elements to develop code for all the different computers that need to go into a car. So we're going to break down a little bit of the computer side here. Computer engineering, creating the programs and the new hardware using the code. All of this, again, going into the elements of the car. Computational math, understanding the needs by gaining insights and predictions based on big data. Such a huge part of the car piece now. And then finally, the technology aspect, implementing in current new areas, developing future generations, producing varieties in a large scale. So much going into these elements when it comes to a car. It's not just mechanical engineering anymore. It's working with a ton of different types of engineers, a ton of different types of people who need to really work together to build the ultimate product, in this case, the car. And now I'm going to turn it over, I think. Oh, no, I have one more. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about engineering and engineering technology and how it overlaps. So you'll see here that the engineering portion of our graphic really talks a little bit about research, analysis, design, development, and prototype, and then eventually shifts into the technology part, which is the evaluation, the testing, design, production, and so on and so forth. So again, there is a huge overlap when it comes to engineering and engineering technology, something that we want our students to understand so that when they go into school and decide what they're going to do, whether it's a major or whether it's after college, you really do need to understand how this all fits together and how to work, like I said, with all different types of engineers and the technology side as well. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague.
Thanks, Jackie. Hey, folks, it's Mike Perry from Florida Tech again, and we want to talk to you now a little bit about what STEM students are, and what do STEM students do? Where do they come from? What are they passionate about? And in a lot of cases, it's going to be a lot different than what most people think in the general public. I think a lot of people view students and people that hold career fields in STEM as nerds focused on engineering that may wear a pocket protector or be very good at computers or very good at math or science. And you don't have to love math or science to end up working or having a career in a STEM field. That's what we want to emphasize to you. You have to understand the concepts, but people that are involved in STEM fields are really, they like discovery and they're creative problem solvers, right? That in science, technology, engineering, and math, we're solving the problems of the world, right? And so to be successful in that field, it is full of a bunch of people that are innovators, that learn how to solve problems in a creative way. They learn how to think critically, look at a problem from all different sides, and come up with a solution to solve that problems. So while it's important to have a good background and an understanding of math and science, you don't have to love it. But if you're a creative person, you could be very successful in the STEM fields and careers. Okay, for the next slide, we want to give you some examples of some of the leaders that have developed in our society that started out with STEM backgrounds or studied a specific field and are successful in things that may not be related to what they initially studied at all. So I'll use the example in the upper left corner here. We have Kadia Balil, who graduated in 2009. She got her bachelor's of engineering in civil engineering from Stevens Institute of Technology. She's a vice president for Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is a multinational investment bank and financial services company. And she heads up, she's the head of the US Division of Regulatory Middle Office and Asset Management with a degree in civil engineering. These STEM fields prepare you to be leaders in industry. When we go to the upper right there, we have Jessica Traver from Purdue University. Her degree was in mechanical engineering, and she is the co-founder and CEO of a medical corporation called Intuitap. And she was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30, at a young age for being successful with a background in mechanical engineering. In the bottom left is an example of a NASA astronaut. Her name is Sunita Williams. She's a alum of Florida Institute of Technology. She holds the record for the longest female in space. She was on the International Space Station for 11 months, and she's one of only 4 NASA astronauts that were selected to be pilots and astronauts in the commercial spaceflight program. And her background was in engineering management. So while she has a background in engineering, she also has a background in management, and she used that background to apply to, get accepted, and excel in the engineering core at NASA. Just absolutely outstanding. In the lower right, we have Andy Forcell, whose degree was in electrical engineering from Carnegie Mellon. He's now the executive vice president of Warner Media. And if you're not familiar with Warner Media, it may help you to understand that he's the one that helps run HBO Max, and he was the CEO of Hulu. So having a background in electrical engineering, now an executive vice president of a multimedia direct-to-consumer service organization, just outstanding. And so these are great examples of where a STEM career can lead you into leadership positions throughout the world. We'll go to the next slide. So we want to play almost a little game here. And so we hope you participate. And what we want to do is we want to see if you can guess, what degree is associated with the people that you see on the screen. And so what I hope you can do is if you can use the Q&A box, right, and try to type in your answers. So if I say, which one of the people that you see here, David, Jennifer, Luke, Mike, Michelle, or Marquez, you know, who majored in aeronautic and astronautic engineering? If you can provide a guess, I'll give you a few seconds to do that in the Q&A section, and then I'll give you the answer. Because what we want to demonstrate is there's often situations where people major in one thing, but their career ends up being something that doesn't seem like it's associated with their degree program. And that's what majoring in STEM type fields can do. You can end up being successful throughout the industry and so forth. And it may not be related to what you initially study, but it prepares you for a career. Okay, so aeronautic and astronautic engineering. The guesses I had were Marquez, but it is in fact David. David majored in aeronautic and astronautic engineering, and he works for Gamma Alloys in the business development section of it. And this is a recent alum. So majoring in an engineering program, but working in business development for an alloys company and so forth. Okay, so let me pick out another one. I'm going to pick out marine biology. So in marine biology, who do you think on here besides David now had a degree in marine biology? If you have an answer, go ahead and put it in the Q&A session as a question. I'll give it a few seconds, and then I'll give you what the correct answer is.
Hey, Mike, we need to go through the list on this one.
Okay. Oh, in order?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. So business and technology information systems, we'll do that one, all right? So business technology information systems. So we had an initial question answer of Michelle. That was probably for the marine biology one. So I'll give it a second here. Business technology and information systems is there you go, Marquez. So Marquez is, let me get my thing here. He's very well known as a technology influencer on like YouTube and whatnot. He's a founder and producer of MK BHD, and he just does an amazing job. But his background is in business and technology with a specialization in information systems management. He becomes very good at communicating, unique products out there, and just does a wonderful job. Very well known if you follow things on YouTube and so forth. Okay, so next one, biology. Who majored in biology? And I think one of the answers there from one of the students was they thought it was Michelle. The answer, in fact, on this one is Jennifer. So Jennifer Gillette, she's a graduate of Florida Institute of Technology. She majored in biology. And she is now a captain in the United States Air Force. She flies the F-15E Strike Eagle. She's a fighter pilot. She majored in biology, was very successful, graduated cum laude, ended up getting a master's of business administration degree at the graduate level. She was a two-sport athlete. She was in both women's soccer and in rowing. And she actually spent 3 years on the women's professional soccer league before even joining the Air Force and becoming an accomplished fighter pilot. So I have a military background. I've served in the military. I could tell you that having female combat fighter pilots is relatively new, right, to the armed forces, and she excels at it. She's one of the founding members of women in fighter pilot positions within the Air Force, and she does a great job. Background in STEM, background in biology. Okay, so now let's go to marine biology. Who do we think is the marine biologist? Okay, I think somebody had guessed before that it may have been Michelle, but this is in fact Mike. So Mike Soul is also a graduate of the Florida Institute of Technology. He is currently the vice president in state and governmental affairs for Florida Power and Light. It's the major electrical company in the state of Florida. He actually had a position after graduation with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. He led Florida's initiatives on climate change. He led the state efforts on protecting Florida from the largest man-made environmental disaster in our history that was caused by that Deepwater Horizon incident out in the Gulf of Mexico. He's a former captain in the United States Marine Corps, and he served during the Gulf War and so forth. A lot of people don't know that there are a lot of big industries out there that want and need and have people in leadership roles that deal with environmental sciences and various STEM programs that you wouldn't associate it with. But because Florida Power and Light touches so many different types of industries, organizations, and people in the state of Florida, they have somebody with a STEM background heading up their government affairs within that industry. Okay, material sciences and engineering. It's one of two choices now, material sciences and engineering. Any guesses? All right, that is going to go to Michelle. Michelle Wolf, she graduated in 2014, and she's co-founded the New Wave Foods. All right, it's a company that makes a vegan, environmentally friendly shrimp alternative. While most people would immediately kind of think of, hey, vegan shrimp with material, they may not associate vegan shrimp with material science. And she herself was originally thinking about going to medical school before graduating with her degree and entering the biomaterials industry. A lot of prospective students also don't know that, most of these STEM majors, right? If you graduate in these STEM majors, you have so many options of career fields that you can go into. Almost all of them would satisfy requirements as pre-medical degrees, right? What's a pre-med degree? A pre-med degree is somebody that has a very strong background in the math and sciences, right? Have gone through calculus, biology, chemistry, physics at the undergraduate level. And then they apply to medical school, and then they go on to medical school. Well, I know people that were electrical engineers that are now doctors, and so Michelle is an example of somebody that studied engineering and now is working in the food industry. Okay, last but not least, industrial engineer. It goes without saying, that goes to Luke. Luke is an Imagineer with the Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. I know some other people that have done that with various backgrounds. They love engineers at Walt Disney World. All right, they're the ones that create the rides. They're the ones that create all the displays and so forth. And most people think of industrial engineering and maybe associated with construction, but it is associated with a lot of different opportunities there. So I hope you can understand that, hey, you can major in one thing. It really prepares you for a lot of different career fields out there. There's a common theme of having a good background in math and science, but there's definitely this route of success studying STEM when you go off to colleges and universities. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Alex, my partner from Carnegie Mellon, who will talk about preparations.
Thanks very much, Mike. Appreciate it. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions for us, any of us, feel free to put that in the Q&A at any point. So as my colleagues have talked about, it's not necessarily what major you do, but it's kind of the problems that you want to solve. So as you've seen, a lot of people may start out in one major, but then decide to go into maybe what might seem to be a completely different field. So something to consider is not necessarily, is the endpoint that I want to be a mechanical engineer, but is the endpoint that I want to create advanced technology. Think about new worlds or safer tomorrows, healthy futures, or a cleaner planet. There can be multiple majors that have analogs and can work in these solving these problems. So something to keep in mind for sure. Now, in terms of choosing your major, so we've said that you don't necessarily need to have a particular major in order to do a particular job, but there are important things to consider. So your vision, what do you see yourself doing and why do you want to do it? For skills, what are some things that you like to learn? What are some things that you're good at? If you are a pretty good mathematician, perhaps you want to choose a major that's pretty math heavy. If that's not necessarily a strong suit, maybe thinking about something else that's more on the science or technology side, implementation. For the interests that you have, if you don't like blood, perhaps maybe you don't want to be in the medical field or do a pre-med major. But even other interests too. Do you like animals? Are you interested in sports? All of these things can have implications for the major you choose. For your values, what morals or ethics or values do you have? Do you want to help people? How do you want to help people? Perhaps a major in public policy can help you in a different way than a major in civil engineering. Both could help people, but maybe in different ways. And then your goals. What do you what do you see the end goal being? And we talked about the last slide, but again, there's multiple ways to get there with a major, but there are certain pathways that perhaps could be less challenging or even more challenging depending on getting to that goal. And then finally, your education. Think about your end goal and think about the level of education it would take you to get there. Does it require a master's, a PhD, an MD, or some kind of other doctoral degree? And that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing, perhaps like a pre-law or a pre-med or, some of those majors. Finally here, last slide for me, is thinking about now, how do you prepare for college? You've thought about your major, you've thought about the goals that you want, how do you get there? All of these things that you see on the slide are good things to keep in mind. I think one thing that I want to talk about in more detail are the 3 F's: form, fit, and finances. When you were choosing a college, think about the kind of college it is. So is it small? Is it large? Is it research heavy? Is it really big into sports or things like that? So what is is it a liberal arts college, or is it, comprehensive, like a STEM college? So that's something to keep in mind. So that's a form part. The fit part, I guess, is a little bit more environmental. So maybe sports would come in here, but where is it located? Is it in a part of the country that you really want to live in? Is it close to home? I think large and small also fits here. And then finally, finances. Do they offer need-based financial aid, merit-based financial aid, based on like scholarships for grades or test scores or things like that? Do they offer both? So something to keep in mind. Do they meet all of your demonstrated need? So for the FAFSA, things to keep in mind. So that's it for the general part. I'm going to quickly talk about Carnegie Mellon, since it's a good segue. I'm already here. Carnegie Mellon, if we go to the next slide, please, is a medium-sized research university, and you can see there's a lot of statistics on there. So I think suffice to say, medium-sized means about 6,500 students, at least to me. That's about as many as we have for undergraduate students. Graduate students are about that many. But you can see our first year class was 1,902 for this past year. So bringing in basically our biggest first year class that we've had ever. You can see breakdowns in terms of demographics and things like that. But one thing that you don't see is the interdisciplinary nature of this university. And if we go to the next slide, I can talk about kind of what that looks like on the front end and the back end. So on the front end, as a STEM major in perhaps our College of Engineering, our School of Computer Science, our Mellon College of Science for like biology, physics, chemistry, math, you have a lot of opportunity to do research, take internships, and get real world skills. But you also have a lot of opportunity to do interdisciplinary work. For instance, if you apply to the Mellon College of Science, you can choose neuroscience as your major. But if you apply to our College of Humanities and Social Science, which is where I graduated from, you could also do neuroscience as a major through psychology. So there's lots of different departments and colleges that you can work through. And you can see too, I just pulled out Mellon College of Science, College of Engineering, and School of Computer Science. Those are, of course, not the only STEM colleges at the university, but those are kind of the 3 most typical. You can see our reported salaries and the employment status of graduates from, I think, 2017 to 2020. So definitely a return on investment there. And then finally, if we could go to our last slide here, and I see, okay, I'm back. For engineering specifically and computer science, we've been proud that at least in terms of gender equity, gender identity equity, it's been really good over the past several years, and especially this year. Our College of Engineering has exactly 50% people who identify as female or coming in as a first-year student to engineering. Computer science, it's been about that percentage for the past maybe 5 or 6 years. So you're definitely coming to a place that is supportive in terms of different identities. And we have a really supportive structure for Society of Women Engineers. You can see some of the awards that they've won. And I know we might hear from other colleagues what women in engineering at their colleges look like too. So with that, I will turn it over to, I believe, Mike.
Hey, it's back to me. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. Okay, folks, a little bit about the Florida Institute of Technology. Florida Tech, or Florida Institute of Technology, we're located in Melbourne, Florida. It's about halfway down the state of Florida, right on the East Coast. We are located just south of the Kennedy Space Center, and this university is relatively young. We've been around, we just celebrated our 63rd anniversary. We were founded by a bunch of NASA scientists and engineers. So back in the late 50s, they were first establishing what is now Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center. There was no educational institution in the county, surrounding that area. So some of the senior scientists and engineers started Florida Institute of Technology to further the education of all the scientists and engineers and technicians in the early space program. So it's all new technology. They needed a place to collaborate, create new ideas, and support that new industry that was coming up. And so that's how we kind of came into being, but we're 63 years young. We have about 5,500 total students on our main campus here, both undergraduate and graduate. We also have divisions, an online division that has about 3,000 students. They primarily do non-STEM type majors, and we have 10 off-campus graduate sites located throughout the United States at the Kennedy Space Center and some associated with military bases and so forth. Our students come from all 50 states and over 110 countries around the world. We have about a 20% in international population on the main campus at the university. Melbourne, Florida is like a suburban type setting. There's a lot of big industries here that support NASA and the Kennedy Space Center. There are estimated 5,000 high-tech companies between Melbourne, Florida and Orlando, Florida, in Central Florida. It's the 4th largest high-tech corridor in the United States. So it is just a great place to live and learn. We're located about 2 miles from the Indian River Lagoon and about 4 miles from the beach and the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, next slide. This university is divided into 4 colleges. We have a College of Aeronautics, a College of Business, a College of Engineering and Science, and a College of Psychology and Liberal Arts. Without a doubt, our most populous college is our College of Engineering and Science. I would tell you that about 75% of our student body is studying some type of engineering or science, with the most popular being mechanical engineering and aerospace engineering. Close to that, because we're close, we get a lot of students for computer science and software engineering. We're close to the ocean and the water here, so we do a lot of the marine sciences here, like marine biology and oceanography. And then we have one of the larger collegiate aviation programs in the United States, where people want to work in the aviation industry as a professional pilot or working in some type of management aspect of the aviation industry. For a young university, we've grown pretty well over the last 60 years, and we're consistently rated as one of the top schools in the world by Times Higher Education. And like most of my colleagues here on there, students that come here and study STEM or graduate from this university, we have a much higher than average placement rate for our graduates. Those that are employed or going to graduate school at the time of graduation or within the first 6 months. So our graduates tend to do extremely well here. Next slide. some of the uniqueness things about this university is we are a direct admit university. So when students apply to Florida Tech, they apply directly to an academic major. That's not the same at all institutions in the United States. And so we tend to not get a lot of undecided students that come here. We get students that want to be an aerospace engineer, or they want to study astronomy and astrophysics, or they want to be a marine biologist. Or they want to go into biomedical engineering. And so when they come here, they start taking coursework in their field of study as a freshman, and they study it all 4 years. It is a rigorous curriculum. But in addition to the rigors of the curriculum, the experiential learning opportunities at this university are just outstanding. And so most of our engineering and science students participate in cooperative education or internships. And if you're not familiar with the term co-op or internships, they're almost synonymous, and we get a lot of business and psychology and aviation students that will do 1 semester internships where they go work for a company in their field of study and get some experiential learning there. It may or may not be a paid position, depending on the company, but engineers and scientists that do co-ops, it is a paid position, and they typically go for more than 1 semester. They're alternating semesters of academics with semesters of practical work experience in their field of study, and it's guaranteed paid position. And we get to have students that can take up to 3 semesters of paid co-ops and still graduate in 4 years. It's almost like going to school year round, but the students coming out of those programs or take advantage of that opportunity more often have multiple job offers before they even get to graduation. Another uniqueness is we offer all of our degree programs here at the bachelor's, the master's, and the doctorate level in everything that we offer. And it's typically 4 years to get a bachelor's of science degree, 2 years for a master's degree. When you get up to the doctoral level, it's 2+ years, depending on what you're studying, what type of research you're doing, and so forth. We have very good fast track opportunities or accelerated programs where a student can get a bachelor's and a master's degree in 5 years, as opposed to 6+ years that you'll see at a lot of institutions. And so all students are eligible for it. If they have a 3.3 cumulative grade point average going into their senior year, the university allows them to take graduate coursework that counts for both their undergraduate and their graduate degree. So by the time they finish 4 years, they only have 1 more academic year to get a master's degree. And so what does that do? It affords people additional job opportunities. It's guaranteed admissions into graduate school. They end up starting out at higher average salaries than their peers in industry and so forth. Next slide. Okay, just like most institutions that are talking today, you cannot get out of Florida Tech without designing and building something. If you're going into engineering, research, and senior design projects and engineering projects are required parts of our curriculum. All students have to participate, and you don't participate by yourself, you're in teams of students. So as a minimum, engineers design and build things. And so before you graduate, you have to be part of a team that goes from a concept to a design to actually building something, right? And we're the type of institutions that we build rockets, we build airplanes, we build submersibles and robots and all sorts of things, creepy crawly things that go out into the ocean for a month and take samples and then come back. Mars rovers, they do just some amazing things here. If you like doing that type of stuff, you start as early as your freshman year, but as a minimum, you're going to have to participate in research and design projects at this university in order to get a degree. It is part of that experiential learning that goes along with the academics, and that's how students end up having great careers and being good leaders. Okay, enough about Florida Tech. I will hand it over to Amy, who will talk about Purdue.
Thanks, Mike. So yeah, I'm Amy Glenn again from Purdue University, and let's talk about Purdue in general, probably one of the largest that's on here this evening. So I'm going to start at the big picture. We are a big university. However, we like to call it a small college vibe, in the sense that you can actually kind of create your own group here on campus and find the people that you really connect with and make it a much smaller place. So there are 37 You can see our undergraduate students, 43% female. Our average class size is about 45. That's campus-wide. Of course, first-year classes, things like Calc 1. If you're taking that, if you didn't get the AP or IB or dual credit and bringing that in, then you might be in a larger lecture section for something like that. But then it breaks out into recitations, which is about 20 to 30 students. We do have students from all 50 states and 130 countries here at Purdue. 72% of students at Purdue are studying a STEM discipline. So there are 9 colleges with 200 majors. So there's a lot to choose from, which gives you that breadth of opportunity, though, also where you can major in something and then minor in something else. So that really kind of gives you to well-round what you do. We do have 2,000 undergraduate research projects going on in any given year. There is an entire department called the Office of Undergraduate Research that helps students find those projects and figure out who they can connect with and connect them with faculty. We are a Research One institution, so there's always research happening. So whatever you're interested in, whether it's in your particular major or something else, you could do that as well. We always encourage students, of course, to continue your passion or try something new. You will get real world experience and the real world community. In engineering, we are a top 10 engineering program. Everyone starts with, if you're going into engineering, everyone starts in first year engineering. That gives you the chance to explore all 17 different majors of engineering that we offer to help kind of figure out which one's the right fit for you. On average, 50% of students will change their major at least once in college. So we try to help move that out of the way so that you can figure it out that first year. Within each major, there's areas that you can specialize. So I like to say there's about 80 different flavors when it comes to engineering. We are a top pick for industry recruiters. There's over 30 career fairs throughout the year, 1,700 unique employer visits to Purdue. When we say unique employer visits, GE visits multiple times because they have different divisions, but they're only counted once. So for internships and co-ops, students are earning about $20 to $30 an hour. As we like to say, engineering students don't work for free. Working for free is called volunteering, which is great as well. So we don't want to neglect that, but most students are paying for college this way. In fact, 70% of engineering students will graduate debt-free from Purdue University. And about 70% of our students are coming from out of state or out of country. So paying for college, internships, and co-ops, great ways to do that. Paid research, working on campus, you get the drift. Average starting salary, great average starting salary for all of our engineering students as well. We do have over 100,000 living alums worldwide, so it's a great network base, and a lot of times those alums are the ones coming back to recruit for those career positions. So we always encourage you, go to the career fairs, get involved on campus, because that's really kind of how the doors of opportunity start to open. We do have a minority engineering program, which offers a great resources for all of our students, no matter what ethnicity you are. And the birthplace of NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, was here at Purdue University. It started in the early 1970s by 5 students as a student organization, and it's grown into what it is today. We do have the first women in engineering program in the US. 26% of our engineering students are women. So women watching, you would not be alone. We do have the largest and longest established chapter of Society of Women Engineers. And last year we opened up the first Women in STEM residence hall here on campus. So you would get to be able to be with all other women studying STEM. We are the cradle of astronauts. We are known for particularly the name in the middle, Neil Armstrong, being the first man on the moon. However, Gus Grissom, who is from Indiana, or was from Indiana, I should say, was the second American in space, and Gene Cernan is the most recent person to walk on the moon. And if you saw the one of the most recent launches with Richard Branson, 2 of our astronauts went up with them. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie at Stevens now.
Everyone, I think we're going to probably run out of time, but I'll make sure that you all get some information about Stevens after this. But very quickly, you can actually change the slide. We're located in Hoboken, New Jersey, directly across from Manhattan on the Hudson River. So you can see our beautiful campus right there with our one tower overlooking the Hudson into Manhattan. That is actually outdated right now. We have 2 brand new residential towers overlooking the Manhattan skyline. It's absolutely beautiful. We have majors in engineering, science, computer science, business, and the arts, mostly known for our programs in engineering and sciences and computer science, but very successful programs in business, as well as art programs in art and technology and music and technology. Stevens is the smaller of the undergraduate schools in this panel, where we have just a little under 4,000 undergraduate students, small class sizes of 25 and a 12-to-1 student faculty ratio, which really translates into accessibility for our students to our faculty. Lots of hands-on classes, lots of research going on. We also have a very active student body where our students love to interact with each other. We very much value our campus community being a smaller institution. And then, of course, just like my colleagues and their institutions, we have a plethora of professional experience and very strong career outcomes. So 95% placement within 6 months of graduation, co-op opportunities and internship opportunities. Many of our students will also take advantage of study abroad options and research. Again, being a smaller institution, our faculty and our staff will work with you to basically make whatever it is you want your experience to be at Stevens. And I'll conclude there.
So I apologize, we ran out of time for Q&A, but please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Daisha, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to all of our panelists today. I am going to share my screen with you briefly and go over a couple of more notes. So again, thank you to the panelists and thank you to our attendees for joining us. When you close your window from this session, there will be a quick 5-question survey for you to fill out. We appreciate any feedback you can provide on your experience today. We encourage you to check back at the schedule and visit strivescan.com/CACHET to take a look at other sessions that are available for you. You'll be able to find this session's recording as well as the other sessions on the website, and you can watch those on demand. Once again, thank you for joining us and hope you have a wonderful evening.